Good morning, everybody. We are at week 3 of this series, A Word to the Wise. 2 weeks ago, Dave started off this series by talking about wisdom in the book of Proverbs, and wisdom, as he said 2 weeks ago, is sort of like, I don't know music, so I'm just going to do my best and keep it real short. It's kind of like a bass line music. That's all I got. It's sort of this undercurrent of the song of creation, okay? It's this through line for all reality, for life and everything in it. And last week, Pastor Lindsay talked about how wisdom starts with what you notice, which includes what we are trained to notice, but also what we're training ourselves to pay attention to. And today, we are talking about words. So that's fun. That's exciting for me. To talk about words and to talk about their wisdom, we have to talk about their power. So, in the beginning was the Word, as John says in the beginning of his gospel, in his prologue, John 1:1. There is an immense power in words. You and I will not create the cosmos from a word, but we do shape universes. If you've ever gotten mad at a character in a show, yes? Oh yeah. Or had your heart race while you were reading a book, or you cried watching a movie, then you have this embodied experience of the power of words. Somebody sat down at a desk, at a computer, at a table, and wrote down how that scene should go, how those words would flow. And one of the most surprising joys for me as a parent has been to be able to teach my boys language. Jack, who is 2, has started getting pretty good at voicing how he feels. I feel mad. I feel angry. It's a common one these days. As you can imagine, the 2-year-old does not get to run the house as much as he tries. So there's a lot of mad. And with Simon, it's fun because he's 4.5. He's starting to get old enough to get into some of the nuances of language. And the other day we were driving and we were listening to the soundtrack of the new Goat movie. Anyone watch Goat on Netflix? Yeah, it's this animated movie about a goat that wants to play basketball. It's actually a really good soundtrack, so it's an easy compromise. And so we're listening to Goat, we're listening to the soundtrack, and during one of the songs, the singer says the word stupid, okay? Stupid is a word that Simon has heard, and Simon has been experimenting with, we'll say. But what's an appropriate time to use this word, and what's not an appropriate time to use this word? And so while he's listening to the song, and I'm sure with a mixture of scandal and curiosity, he says, "Did that guy just say stupid?" And I said, yes, So I told him that usually stupid means something, this is probably the most the word stupid has ever been said on a Sunday morning. At least in the microphone. Yeah. What happens with the live stream, all the technology, that's between you and God. But stupid, so I told him, I said, stupid usually means, it conveys a strong dislike. You really don't like something, right? Or something is dumb or whatever, right? So, but because language is fun, sometimes words mean the exact opposite of what you think they mean. And so this guy in the song, he's using the word stupid, but it's like going crazy, but like in a good way. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it's okay, buddy. We can talk more about it, right? But that there's the simple idea is that there's this more, and now I'm talking to you, not Simon anymore. But like that there's more than just like sterile, predictable uses and definitions that one would find in a dictionary. Because there are those, but then there's the lives that words actually live. In the beginning was the Word, and we had to learn how to listen. In the beginning was the Word, and we had to learn how to make sense of the sound we heard. In a theological sense, that's what wisdom does. We've heard the word that created all things in the beginning. We live the word, and wisdom helps us to make sense of the music. There's this quote from everyone's favorite Austro-British philosopher. You know the one? You can say it with me at the same time. I think I heard it, actually, from the baby. Ludwig Wittgenstein, right? You know him, your favorite. Well, our man Ludwig, he said, the limits of my language means the limits of my world. And as a parent, with every word I say or choose not to say, is framing my kids' little worlds. It's shaping their worldview. It's shaping their view of themselves and their place in the family of all things, as Mary Oliver said. That kids pick up on how they're talked to and talked about, and they believe it. They just accept it. They believe it as essential truths. They will believe that they are smart and capable. They will believe that they are good at coloring and drawing. They will believe that they are better seen and not heard. They will believe that if only they could be more like their sibling, then they would be a better kid. I might not create the cosmos, but my words will certainly give it shape and texture and color. And the truth is that you don't have to be a parent for this to be true. We don't have to look even to anyone else. Our own words, the words that we say, and to draw from last week, the words that we also pay attention to, will form us, will shape our own worlds. As Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Or to say it another way, our words both influence and reveal our own inner lives. With the way we craft our words, whether in speech or in writing, we are creating entire worlds. They may be the air around us, in our homes, in our workplaces. They could give a certain lens to everything we see in our lives. They may be in the hearts and in the minds of our babies. It may be within our own soul. Either way, there is a profound responsibility for those of us who use words, whose tongues work, who have hands to write, who have lips to move. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Words have the power to create or to destroy, to breathe life or to kill. There is creativity and there is caution, healing and harm, life and death, all within the power of words. As John said, all things were created in a word, by a word, through a word. As image bearers of the one who has spoken all things, our words too have immense power. Let's do a short little exercise. Ready? I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. You don't have to say anything out loud. Please don't. But I wonder, how would you read this sentence? How would you read that? I imagine it might stir something up in you. I think that's fair, maybe. Perhaps what it stirs up is alienation. That the use of the word guy automatically makes you think it's a message for someone else. That's entirely possible. That's the power of language already. Who is included and who is excluded? Is it in our words? Maybe you're recognizing that by reading, I'm asking you to inject your own emotion into it, your own projections into it. Maybe it conjures within you your own experiences, or your own emotions, perhaps empathy, perhaps this evokes shame. Do you imagine it to be truth-telling, or is it name-calling? What is the tone? What is the inflection? Right? For those watching on the live stream, the sentence is, you're a sensitive guy. And you could emphasize any of those words and it changes, right? Like, you're a sensitive guy. 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 It matters. You can, just by the way you're emphasizing and inflecting. So maybe you read it as just a statement, right? And you're like, that has nothing to do with any experience that I've had. It's been pulled from the void, right? Without an intended audience. A type of random word association or shock factor. Or maybe you're like, this is some sort of Freudian slip thing, Grant. And, for my own unanalyzed, repressed psyche. Or is it an internal dialogue? Was it written in a letter, or was it said out loud? Was it said by someone to themselves, or said to someone else? Maybe I'm the one saying it. Maybe I'm saying it to you. Or maybe you're thinking about someone else that it might or might not relate to. Or do you imagine that it was said to me? There's a million possibilities, right? There is the speaker and there's the receiver. There are the words themselves. Perhaps there's a third party overhearing it. Each of these infinite number of possibilities and variables that could change and nuance our understanding of what 4 words can mean. Conjunctions count as 4 still? I don't know. This is the world of words. The mystery and the power of language. Each combination of these possibilities and the infinite others will conjure up within you a slightly different interpretation, a slightly different reading and relating than it even will in me or the person sitting next to you. Because you have assumptions and connotations connected to this little string of words and what each word means that belongs to your own little universe, as do I. The existence of one does not negate the existence of the other, which is to the chagrin of philosophers and theologians and pastors and parents the world over. This is why language is much more of an art than a science. Speech is something that takes humility and wisdom to navigate well. And so, do the facts of it matter to you? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But in our own lived experiences, truth will always win out over fact, even. From your vantage point of your life, you hold a truth about this statement and these words, how they should or should not be used, given your own experiences and assumptions, understandings. And the truth of this statement, for me, is that I was a child, no older than 10 years old, but I could have been younger. The truth is that I was in the prime of my youth with a budding sense of selfhood, noticing who I am and who I am not. The truth is that I was beginning to distinguish between myself and others. I had a growing sense of my own interests, self-understanding, and individual personality. You're a sensitive guy. To be honest, I don't remember the details. Those are facts that don't matter so much to me. Was I crying too much for a boy by society standards? Was I anxious? Was I racked with worry for my neighbor, Dan, who had just been diagnosed with cancer? Pick one. Each is true. But what I do know to be fact is that these words, "you're a sensitive guy," were given to me by my mom. They were, for me, a moment of liberation. It was a permission to be myself. I felt seen and known and understood. In just 4 words. It was a quiet revolution against the societal pressure to be, quote unquote, manly, which apparently is opposed to being a fully human person. In those 4 words, I felt seen, I felt known, I felt cared for. As Brazilian Ruby Malves wrote, words do to my body what the whole universe cannot do. Once the Israelites were out of harm's way, God gives them 10 commandments, or 10 words, as Tim Mackey providentially translates it. And he instructs them with this. He says, fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them to your foreheads. Teach them to your children. Talking about them when you sit at home and when you walk on the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Write them as the door frames of your houses and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children may be many in the land the Lord swore to give your ancestors. As many as the days that the heavens are above the earth. There is a power to words. Fix these words in your hearts and minds. The tongue has the power of life and death. I'm certain that you have your own words etched onto your heart. Somebody expressed their belief in you, their trust, their faith, their friendship, their love. Maybe you remember a beautiful poem that has stayed with you, or a line from a song, a Bible verse that has carried you and means more than you could really even put into words. Or just maybe they are words that are etched full of pain. The tongue has the power of life and death. You know all too well, as James said, that the tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Those are strong words to talk about words. Perhaps the words etched on your heart are words of loss, of leaving, of foregone dreams. Maybe theirs are the aching swell of words left unsaid. The things you would wish you had said when you had the time, or the things you wish were said to you, the things you wish you didn't say, the longing to be told how loved you are, to hear that voice one more time. Maybe you forgot what that voice sounded like. My guess, if I may be so bold, is that you are made up of all of these. You bear the wounds and the balms that words can bring. You have come alive because of words, and because of them we have tasted deaths. Words have made our hearts soar, our imaginations, our belief, our love soar, putting to shame even the noblest of the majestic birds. And words too have made us feel small. Our shoulders curl over, our eyes not on the birds, but on the ants of the ground, believing ourselves to be lower, less significant, less noticed than even these. We have believed in love and believed in lies, all because of words spoken to us, words that we've inherited, words we've told ourselves, words we locked away in our heart as gospel truth, for better or worse. The very trajectory of our lives have been shaped by words. Someone out there needs your writing. Why can't you be more like your brother? Your sister never would have done that. Kids should be seen and not heard. Hey, fatty. Wow, you look absolutely beautiful, but you know, honey, you are more beautiful even on the inside. I love you. I hate you. I'm sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. I wish you were never born. We have prayed for you and loved you since before you were born. You may now kiss the bride. It's cancer. You and I have words that are fixed in our hearts and our minds. We have words that have defined and shaped how we see ourselves, the world, our place in it. Again, for better or worse, many of these words have been placed there by somebody else. Hopefully, like the Israelites, they are words that will lead us to life and to love. But let me ask, just what, you don't have to say it out loud again, but what words have been sown in your heart? Name them. Hopefully somebody has affirmed something in you, in your life, in your skills, in your passions, in your interests at some point along the way. But even more than that, my hope is that somebody has affirmed your essential goodness without needing to point to any accomplishment or task or passion. In other words, I hope that somebody has told you of your belovedness as you are, just for being you. What things do you wish were told to you? What words have you longed to hear? I think you can take time to offer them to yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror, affirm the goodness in yourself. There's no reason that you cannot or should not tell them to yourself. Take those words, those reminders of love, of belonging, of inherent worth and dignity, of beauty and goodness, and fix them within your heart. Bind them to the reflexes of your thoughts. Tie them as symbols on your hands, so that whether you are washing dishes or changing tires or diapers, typing reports or administering an IV, you will have a constant sightline to the words that you need. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. And beyond just coming to terms with the power of our words, the reality that the tongue has the power of life and death, what is the relationship between our words and wisdom? First, I think this means that there is a great need for wisdom in the way we talk. That there is just as much wisdom in how we say something as there is in what we say. Wisdom is not just found in our word choice. It's in the tone. It's in the inflections. It's in the timing. It's even in examining, are they and am I in a good place to have this conversation, to say this thing, to ask this question? As a funny side example, I have learned during the school year, Michaela's a teacher. Surprise to me. I'm just kidding. I've learned during the school year that I can't bombard Michaela as soon as she gets home with all my thoughts and questions. I've been spending time with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I have a lot of this golden retriever energy that as soon as she walks home, I'm just like, let's talk like adults. And I have learned that she is a full-time working mom who just got home from taking care of 20 kids that belong to someone else. And sometimes she just needs a breath. And in conversations and reflections on the way that we talk, we can get stuck, I think, not just us, but all of us, on focusing on what we say and not about how we say it, because we often treat words as a mere utility, right? In our regular day-to-day life, at wherever in the world, we usually employ words to convey and request information and instructions, right? Words stay a utility. But again, I think language is much more an art than a science. And if God created with a word, created robins and asters and goldenrods, then I think words are meant for something else, something more than just utility. I'll say it this way. I think that it's entirely possible to speak truthfully without beauty. But I don't think it's possible to speak with beauty without truth being wrapped up in it. Wisdom is not just what we say, but how we say it. Second point, Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." But it takes an entire answer to turn away wrath. But it's as simple as a single harsh word, a single overemphasized word, a single poorly chosen word, one poorly timed word. Just a single word can stir up anger. It's far easier to provoke than it is to safeguard. So I think point 2 in Proverbs 15:1 would remind us that wisdom is found in taking a beat. That wisdom is found in taking a breath before responding. I've never gotten myself in trouble by taking a breath first. But I've certainly had some interesting looks for my knee-jerk defensive reactions. In both the biblical Greek and Hebrew, the word for breath is the same word as spirit. And I think the conflation of the two is the point. When you need to think about something, take a deep breath. When you need to be careful of how we respond, take a deep breath. When we need the Spirit's presence and wisdom, we can simply take a deep breath. More than in trying to be right, more than in trying to be heard, more than in trying to be understood, wisdom is found in the breath that we take before we say anything. Third, sometimes maybe most of the time, what we need is to say less. Often the wisest use of our words is to be silent. The tongue has the power of life and death, and that's nothing to take lightly. Like, who am I to have that kind of power? Not every situation needs my input. Not every problem needs my solution. Not every word needs a response. Not every instance needs my correction. Not because they don't matter, but exactly because they do matter. The wisdom of silence reminds me that not everything is mine to give. Wisdom is all around. As Proverbs 1:20 says, that she calls out in the public square. Wisdom is not mine to grace you with any more than the air is mine just because I too happen to breathe it. It's not mine to bring about or to manufacture or to generate or to take pride in. I'm not able to contain it or comprehend wisdom. Wisdom comprehends us. But I have to be silent long enough to hear the words. Again, as James said in his letter, he said, "My beloved siblings, let every person be quick to hear and slow to speak." I think the wisdom of words is a paradox. There's a direct connection between wiser words and more silence. Most of the time, practice makes us better. If you want to be good at soccer, you practice soccer more. If you want to be good at the violin, you practice the violin. But if we want to be people through whom wisdom naturally flows, we need interior and exterior silence. A silence of our ego projections, a silence of our fears, a silence of our pride, a silence of our tongues. You can only pour out what you have been filled with. May we recognize the beauty and the power of words. And may we also recognize the beauty of their limitations. So as practices for this week, as we are in the practice of doing around here, I'd say the first is to just notice the words. Notice what words have been fixed onto your hearts and minds and to name them. Write them down, put them in a notes app on your phone if you need to. And to name the words that you've needed to hear and to offer them to yourself. A second practice would be breathe first. Before responding to a stressful email, or when you feel yourself getting defensive in conversation, or wanting to prove, or wanting praise, take a deep breath and invite the Spirit's wisdom to come. And the third practice of beautiful words. I think sometime just take this week to dwell with words. You can read Psalms or Proverbs, allowing yourself to get stuck on a word or a phrase that stands out in some way. And ask the Spirit, why this word? It just strikes me. I love the way this is said. This makes me think of, just follow it. Follow the rabbits down their little trails. You could read a book of poetry. You could listen to Poetry Unbound podcast. You could do a deep dive into the lyrics of your favorite singer-songwriter. You could write yourself. You could write your own poetry, your own reflection, your own stories. Not for anyone else, but just for yourself. To just spend time with words as beauty. And 4, practice silence. Sit in silence, outside if possible. It's going to rain, I think, this week, but God made umbrellas. God made people who made umbrellas. Practice interior silence, which, drawing attention to one thing. Birds in a bird feeder, a squirrel, a flower. And external silence. Leave your cell phone at home, your smartwatch, no music, no AirPods. Silence. Let's pray. God, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for the reminder of words and their power, the responsibility of it. God, it's so easy to go throughout my day and just talk and just yap and fill the air with the sound of my voice because for some reason I think it's important. God, help us to be people who take it deeply, the wisdom of words, that there is the power of life and the power of death in words, and that those of us who love them will eat their fruit. That, God, there is wisdom not just in what we say, but in how we say it. That words can create worlds and can create beauty. And God, help us to be people that try to not rush to manufacture, to generate wisdom in our words as if it's ours to give, to create, to manufacture. Help us to be a people of silence, internally and external, to take time, to waste time with you, I guess would be the best way that I want to say it. Help us to be brave enough to waste time with you. God, be with us today and this week. Give us eyes to see, ears to hear, tongues that are stilled, and hearts longing for change. In Jesus' name, amen.
We're rising from the ashes to the stars. You're the joy, 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 light in my soul. The joy, joy, joy.